We're on this computer. I guess before I start and, well, I can share my screen, it's fine. Does anybody have questions before we get started? I mean, I'm happy to chat really quick as before we get started here and to see if anybody has any questions. Where'd the chat go? Let me open up. No questions so far? Okay, as soon as I share my screen, we will, I won't be able to see the chat. So I will just like check back in a minute. So here we go. All right. Perfect. So we're going to jump right into this. And it's something that learning how to prepare your paperwork is one of the hardest things you're going to do in pageantry. Now, if you have had a local title, or if you have made it to the next phase of competition, whatever that may be, you probably have had some prep in some way. I have a lot of girls in here that will be watching this if you're not live, that don't have directors. Sometimes they just go to the state competition, or we're even still working on getting a title, a local title. So there are a lot of different styles of paperwork, and there are a lot of different ways to get started. So even if you have made it to the state stage, this is really good to hear, because your paperwork is very, very, very important. And it's quite funny, because if this is one of your first pageants, or if you're just getting back into what I call the game, it's a good refresher. And in pageant world, a lot of people, when they think of pageants, you know, they only think about the crowning, and that's kind of what we're going for. Clearly, we all want to be crowned. That's why we're here. But most importantly, we usually have other goals on top of it. Mine was scholarship driven. And after that, when I aged out and had went from the Miss America system to the Miss Universe organization, I didn't need scholarship money anymore. I was mainly going after my goals as far as in the entertainment industry and the opportunities. So keep in mind, yes, those are our goals as we're rounding up our resumes and our bios, but there's so much more to that. So the importance of paperwork. Now, if you guys, again, like wave at me if you guys, because I can see you. I can see you. If you guys have any questions, I think there's a way to raise your hand on the screen. I've never done that, so I don't know how it works. But either write the question in the chat box and we'll come back to it, or I can try to escape really quick. Okay, so the importance of paperwork. Paperwork is really your first introduction to the judges. Most pageants, the judges get to see your paperwork before they get to meet you. And even some pageants, they get to see it days before they get to meet you. So it could be that they get to read over it with a fine-tooth comb, or they're seeing it just hours before your interview. Regardless, it's very important, because essentially it's almost their first impression of you. So it is one of the most important parts, especially of interview, but of the competition. Now, why is it so important? It's important because it truly does set up your interview. And it's very, very important not to share too much about yourself in your paperwork, in your bio, in your resume, in your platform statement, whatever you have to submit. It's very, very important that you don't offer too much, because you want the judges you want to leave them wanting more. And I've just judged a pageant not too long ago. It's very hard to read someone's paperwork and you feel like you've gained so much knowledge on the girl, you don't know what to ask her when she walks through the door. So it's kind of, you leave little hints of things here and there. You know, what's this organization you were involved in? What does this mean? You don't want to explain everything in detail in your resume or your bio. So that's how it sets up your interview. Also, very important, and I didn't realize this until I judged, and I really didn't realize this was an issue. It really shows your commitment to the title. Again, it's one of your first introduction to the judges, but it shows your commitment to the title. I have this pageant I just judged not too long ago. I couldn't believe how many girls had, you know, I get it, punctuation happens, you know, punctuation errors happen, but terrible grammar errors. And some of the girls had the wrong paperwork. They had the wrong title in their paperwork, or they have the wrong resume. And it can be confusing when you jump from system to system, because I was one of them. It can be confusing, but she submitted the wrong format for her paperwork. And technically, we're not told to judge on that for this particular competition, but it automatically puts in my mind, this girl does not know how to follow direction. Can she follow orders? Is she going to be coachable? So it's very important that whatever your director or the director of the pageant, if they send you a specific format, and you do your 100% best to follow that format. And if you are unsure if it's correct, you can never ask too many questions. My MAO girls, I understand that some of you, some pageants, vary state to state, but especially in Indiana, I know there was some confusion because some local pageants are using older formats than other ones. I would still check in with the director and say, here's my resume. Is this the correct format? Be open. There's no question that is a bad question. And that is very important because, again, it's your first introduction to the judges. So make sure you have the proper formatting, proper punctuation, and proper grammar in there, and check for spelling errors. Oh, yes. Couldn't remember my notes as my phone is blowing up. It gives the judges an example of what you have to offer. So obviously a resume. So from this point on, we are no longer thinking of this as a title. We're going to talk about it as the job. And I know my last video, we had talked about the job. From this point on, we're going to imagine that you are applying and interviewing for a job, because it's the best way to do this. Now, when you are interviewing for a job, you are trying to give the interviewer, the judges, your best qualities. You want to put forth the best you have to offer. You want to show all your strengths, what you have done, what you expect to do. That's exactly what you're doing here. And this, however we set up your paperwork is going to show the judges what you really have to offer, because your interview could be 6 minutes, it could be 10 minutes, 12 minutes, however long it is. They have no clue how to, there's no way they could possibly ask you about everything that's on your resume, but putting it in front of them is very, very important. So it's your way of presenting yourself to the judges. Even though they may not ask you a question about it, they're definitely probably reading that or making a note of it. I always highlight and circle things, even if I don't get a chance to ask it in an interview. And last but not least, it gives you the opportunity to stand out. We're going to go more in depth to that as we go. But when you are in a competition and you're all going for the same job, sometimes you find that there are certain things that are repetitive. They're supposed to see the same format of interview or of paperwork as you go. And that sometimes a lot of the same thing happens. Everybody has the same intros, they have the same closings. It can be quite repetitive. So this is your opportunity to stand out, and it all depends on how you set up your paperwork. So it is your opportunity to really show a different side of you and then go into further detail when the interview starts. Now, the actual job, most people, and if you're new to pageantry, these are the two things people talk about when they find out you're going to do a pageant. And it's like, oh, it's swimsuit and makeup, right? And they think it's really glamorous. Although, yes, that is a component of it. But as someone who has gone to the national stage, I can tell you, this is literally the smallest portion of the job. This is fun. You work your butt off to get to these points, to swimsuit and be on stage. But it really is very minute when it comes to what actually is about the job description. And that's what we're going to go over next. So I asked you in my last video 2 days ago to really think about what the job description is, what are the qualifications and expectations. And this is kind of hard to think about. And I wasn't asked this until my second time I competed at Miss Indiana America. And my mind was like, you know how light bulbs go off in cartoons? That's what happened to me. And so this is what I share with all of my girls. You really have to think about it as if it was a job. And what are the qualifications? If you want to win your next pageant, what qualifications do you need to have in order to do your job as that title holder correctly? And to be more specific and to be able to narrow those down, what is the job description? So a couple of you had messaged me, and if you didn't get a chance to do this, it's okay. We're going to talk through them, but I think it's really important that you have in your mind, because I think it's a great way to set up an interview as well, and your paperwork. The description of this job. Some of you were quite obvious about qualifications, but we're going to start with description. The job description is actually pretty simple, and you can make it as obtuse or as acute as you want, but it really is quite simple. Your job as a title holder is you're representing. First of all, you're representing your state, and you're representing the county, or whatever your title holds. You are representing not only yourself, that organization, but even the girls who have competed. Therefore, your job is to give such a good example that you want more girls to compete, because a strong organization gives off a strong title holder. For example, and I've been here before, if you do a pageant and there was only 3 girls involved and you win, that's a great feat. I mean, you're really excited to win that pageant. But if you're a girl who wins a pageant and there's 50 girls in it, that shows a strong, that's a strong organization, but that means that competition was high, and that makes that win even that much more impressive and more gratifying, really. And think about all the lives that are changed, especially with platforms, when you get that many girls together to compete. So yes, you're representing your organization, your title, and your state, and maybe even country, but your job is to recruit other girls. It's very important, is to be a representation of your organization. And a lot of people don't talk about this. Connect. This is probably one of the biggest job descriptions, and I don't think it's talked about enough. Katie Stam, who I heard from, I think she's going to talk with us. I don't know if you guys know Katie Stam. She was Miss America 2009. She's a good friend of mine, very busy, but she's hoping to be able to jump on with us. I haven't locked a date down yet, but she is the one, when I heard her speak, she talked about this. Connecting is really it's most of this job. Really, it's one of the biggest parts of this job. When you win and you compete, yes, you're on stage. Like we talk about how that's such a minute part of competition. But when you are an actual title holder, and especially if you are honored enough to become a state title holder, you have so many opportunities to connect with other people. And you truly are. Your job is to talk to people, connect with people, and make an impact. And one of my favorite things about Katie was she had this powerful miracle. I don't even know. She had this amazing ability to make it feel like you were the only person in the room when she talked to you. And I really realized how much of an impact that made on me. And I wanted to make other people feel that way as a title holder. And she connected with me. Even if we only exchanged sentences, she looked me in the eye, and I felt like she sincerely wanted to talk to me. And that's one of the hardest parts of being this job, because I can tell you, after I got home from Miss USA and I was exhausted and I had media knocking on my door, the last thing I wanted to do was talk to people. I was devastated and happy at the same time. I was exhausted, but it was my job to put my crown on. And I had a title, I had my state to represent, I had my community, I had my morale to represent. And it is very hard, and it's part of the job that a lot of people don't talk about. Your job is to connect with people, have conversations, talk to them about your platform, about the national platform, about how wonderful it is to be where you are. So think about that. How will you make a connection with the next person you talk to if you have a title, if you're going to be a title holder? Very important to think about. Qualifications. Now, some of you messaged me, and you gave me true description and qualifications. I have to be over 18. I have to be a senior in high school, and I have to be this and live here for so long. Yes, those are obvious qualifications, and it's really good to make sure you indeed qualify for your pageant. There's nothing worse than preparing and investing and getting the pageant and find out you actually don't qualify. I've seen it happen. It's tragic. It really is. So make sure you qualify for your pageant. But that's the obvious. What you really need to think about, Katie is one only because I know her. But if you think about your favorite title holder, even if it's local, state, or national, what about that person made you really drawn to her? What was it about her that made you really like her? Why did you think she made a great Miss Yada Yada or Mrs. Yada Yada? It's probably because some of the characteristics that she had. And I often get asked in your interview, and I ask this in a lot of my interviews, what characteristics are most important for a title holder to possess? What qualities does that girl need to have in order to be a good title holder? So we can do this, we can reverse engineer this. Some bad qualities would be, if I never want to sound bad. Introverts, it's a hard job to have if you are an introvert, because that means typically you are uncomfortable being in group settings, or if if you don't like talking to people one-on-one. So that's one that a lot of girls are working on, and that's okay if you're one of them. But to be a title holder, you really need to be able to be confident enough and ready to engage with people, and sometimes that means outgoing. So that's something to think about. Characteristics, she has to be able to have a really good time management, because I will tell you, it is one of the hardest jobs about this job is managing your time. Some of you are still college students. Some of you have full-time jobs. Some of you have after school sports, and depending on where you're at, this can be very hard, and learning time management is something I still struggle with today. It's very, very important. Other great characteristics to have, you need to be comfortable in your own skin. Very, very tough thing to learn, even as I'm almost 30 years old, and that's still something that I struggle with every day. One of the biggest things that I get asked in just by the general public is if the swimsuit portion of the competition is even relevant into today's society. That's something that's asked on the national stage. And in my answer to that is I think it's age appropriate. It needs to be age appropriate. And also it is one of the best ways to truly see a girl's confidence, because walking on a stage in swimsuit in heels is very, very difficult. And you could be the most fit person in the world, but if you're not confident, it'll show. And it also is very important. And if you are still on a health journey, and here is your reason. If you're still on your health journey and you're still trying to get to your goals, whatever your health and journey goals are, I want to specify and stress that everyone's healthy is a different shape and size. If you know me or followed me, you know how important this is to me. And serious voice, this is very important to me. Just because you're a different size does not mean you're not healthy. So when you're thinking about swimsuit and getting ready for swimsuit, if this is part of your competition, make sure you are doing it healthy, and your goal is to be the healthiest version of yourself. Not a certain size, not a certain shape, not a certain body fat percentage. Figure it out, calculate your BMI. I'm being really honest. If you need help, I'll help you. But this is very important. Why the swimsuit portion is still relevant, that aside, is because if you were to win the national title, and if you're to win even the state title, it is very strenuous. You're doing a lot of sleepless nights. You are traveling. The job is very unglamorous. I hate to break it to you. It really has very little glamorous moments. Nationals is glamorous. That's one of the best parts about it. But if you're a state title holder, you have to be able to know how to eat healthy and keep your energy high and be able to withstand the strenuous moments that it is. So that's my long, lengthy answer to whether or not a swimsuit is important. But having a girl truly be healthy is one of the best characteristics that can have. So those are some qualifications in my mind that I think are really important. You probably can YouTube some, I'm sure. Google it, but really think about yourself. What characteristics do you have that would make you a good title holder? And why is that important to the job of having this title? So something to think about. Storytelling. This sounds really strange, I'm sure, when you saw it in the picture. Why are we talking about storytelling? Well, I can tell you I've been in so many interviews that are so bland, because when you are just telling facts about yourself, it's boring. I mean, it's not memorable whatsoever. But if you tell stories about yourself, you are truly going to sell yourself to the judges. And we'll get more in this when we get into interview, but truly like proven scientific facts that judges, people especially, but judges literally only they only retain 7% of what you say. That's 7%. You're in there. That means the other percentage is on what? It's on body language. It's about grammar. It's about how you answered things. It's only 7% is words. They only really remember 7% of the words that come out of your mouth. So when you're telling stories, you tend to get more animated. So for instance, if I were to ask you, what's one positive and negative thing the governor has done for our state? Well, that's like, first of all, inside my stomach just drops. It's like, who's our governor again? Do your research. And then it's really boring, so you spit out some answers. But I have a question. Hey, it popped up. I'll answer that in a minute, Courtney. But if somebody asks me, tell me the last time you and your brother did something fun, I light up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Chip and I had a really good time. We went to Costco, and he helped me pick out a rug for my dining room. And we were really excited. We got a killer deal on it. I used my coupon and realized it wasn't going to fit in my car. And then you can just see my face light up. So finding a way to answer a question by telling a story is going to make your interview memorable. Same thing in your paperwork. A lot of the Miss America paperwork does ask you certain questions. It's not like, it doesn't just say, interests, hobbies, or awards. I mean, in the bottom, they actually ask a question. What social causes or issues are your generation dealing with? So this is a point where you can list all the statistics you want, but you need to be able to apply it to yourself. And that's telling a story. So it's very important that your paperwork tells a story. It's not just listing facts about yourself. Something to think about. Is your paperwork simply listing facts about yourself, or are they truly learning about you? Also, telling stories is what makes you unique. Standing out in an interview is very hard to do, and so it is in your paperwork as well. So when you're reading through paperwork, it is a lot more fun to learn and truly feel what someone else is feeling if they're telling a story. Also in your resume, does it connect with the rest of the resume? I really like, it's a craft and it's really hard to do, but once you get it, you get it. Making sure your entire resume, top to bottom, all connect. They all make sense. Now, for instance, if your platform or social cause is dog adoption, not, you're truly adopting dogs, and the importance of dog adoption. If you constantly tell about dog adoption, they're not going to think about you. When you walk on the stage, you'll be like, oh, that's the dog adoption girl. However, you want to be able to sprinkle it in there so it all makes sense. But it needs to still be about you. It needs to connect. This is a horrible example. So if your platform or social cause is about dogs, we need to know, possibly she wants to be a vet and she volunteers on the weekends at a shelter. So no, it's not all about dog adoption, but I could see how all that makes sense. Does that make sense to anybody? I got a couple nods. Yeah, sure. We can go into more depth. And then more importantly, if you have more than one piece of paperwork to submit, Miss America Girls, for instance, I'm saying this because I just helped a girl prep, my title holder prep for hers. Your platform and your resume, there are two separate paperworks, two separate things. Technically, they are two separate things. However, you want them to make sense and you want them to connect, or especially with your social cause. You want to make sure they connect and they're not completely two different verbiages, two different languages. You want to make sure they are both consistent. So very important. Question from Courtney. My first big pageant, Miss Indiana USA, they asked me about my dog's birthday parties. Oh, see, and that's again, so the excitement, Courtney, that you had when they asked that, because it's something personal. It's like, yes, I could talk about my dog all day. Sorry if you're not a dog person. You need to have that same enthusiasm when you're talking about other things. We'll get into that in an interview. Obviously, you don't have enthusiasm if you're talking about someone who just passed away. We'll get into that later. Okay, I think I have, homework. So this is what I want from you, and then we'll go and then we'll chat some more. I need you to apply this, and you don't have to submit them to me unless you really want to. I'd be happy to look through them and go over them. But these are things that you should be asking yourself before every pageant. Why are you right for the job? And it is probably one of the hardest questions. Or why do you want to be Miss So-and-so? To this day, it is one of the hardest questions that I have ever had to ask. And here I am again, almost 30 years old, and I'm getting ready to compete in a pageant next month. And it's the one question that I dread. I pray they don't ask me it. I'm ready for it and I know how to prepare for it, but it's just, there's so much emotion involved. And some days I feel different. I mean, I feel the same, but other reasons are stronger than others. So let's just break this down, and I want you to apply it to you. So why do you want to win this next pageant? Why do you want to be Miss? Why do you want this job? Your best bet is to just list all the great things about it. I just broke a nail. List all of the things about it. And that's kind of like a pro and con thing. And you can formulate an actual answer off of this. So, and I want you to be as real as possible. Let's be kind of, I don't like the word conceited, but let's be selfish for a minute. I want to win because I want the crown. I've worked my butt off. I have yet to win a pageant. It's been 6 years. I want a crown. I want the title. I want the opportunity to represent at Miss State. I really have worked very hard. I need the scholarship money. The scholarship money is what's putting me through school. I cannot wait to have the opportunity to work with my community. I want to take my platform to the next level. I want to go to Las Vegas and compete on the national stage. I want to be part of that sisterhood. Those are all valid reasons. Some of them, you got to word them correctly. Some of them are a little bit more personal than others, and some of them are very philanthropic. But you don't always have to be pageant Patty here, you guys. You don't. And it's very important that you ask this before you go back and look at your resume or start your resume, because I think it's going to set up how I think it's going to help you guide you set up your interview. I'm going to jump to the last bullet point. I don't know why I put it here. What 3 things do you want the judges to think about you when you finish your interview? I have every one of my girls, all my title holders, this is one of the first things that I ask them before we even start pageant prep. They win their pageant, we have our meeting, and I say, okay, when you go to state this year, what 3 things do you want the judges to think about you when you are finished your interview? When you leave that interview room, they want to think, wow, Mekayla is blank, blank, and blank. What are those three, almost like a little legacy, like a daily, like your legacy for the day, but what do you want to leave the judges feeling when you leave? Because if you have them, if they feel the right way about you in interview, it's going to be consistent through the competition. So I can't answer this for you. You really have to really think about this. And it can't be, I mean, everybody's going to have a different answer. But I really want you to think about what are those 3 things you want the judges to feel about you. And I would love for you to send them to me. Think about it. Because again, that's going to set up everything you choose, from interview to wardrobe to talent. If you want the judges to take you, think that you are intelligent, and that you are going to do great things with your engineering degree, you probably aren't going to do a talent that, I don't even know, some goofy, weird talent. If you're trying to give off the persona of being serious and very businesslike, you probably should consistently take that through your competition. Yes, you want to seem well-rounded, but you want to be consistent. So this is why this is very important. Jumping back up, what makes you stand out from the other contestants? I actually ask this a lot in interview. What it's really asking is what characteristics, what qualities do you have that make you unique that every other girl isn't going to have? So, in Miss USA stuff, at least in Indiana, I'm sorry if somebody's not competing in Indiana, usually the bio asks you to, if you describe yourself in 3 words. And those 3 words are so powerful. It's kind of what I asked you just to do. It's very, very annoying when you walk in and you see in an interview and it says outgoing, confident, and fun. Because if you're in a pageant, you probably should be all of those three things, at least a hint of them at some point in time. What truly makes you unique? What makes you you? And I have a friend right now, very excited for her. She is competing in her first pageant, and it's in Mrs. Michigan. And Lexi, I'm gonna laugh, she's on here. I don't know if she's in here. She would have messaged me. I don't think she is. Her name is Lexi, and she is, well, she's proud to say it. She's a curvy model. She is not obese. She is not unhealthy by any means. She is just a curvy girl, and she owns it. And that is something that is very important to her. And she is actually in the competition for MacDougall, is a dress designer. She is in the fabulous cover model. He's trying to find a new curvy model for his lines, and she's in that, and I'm very excited about it. And she has embraced that, and that's become a huge part of her, and that is something that makes her stand out. And I love that about her. So what about you? Hey, did anybody read my blog today? If you haven't, I'm not offended by any means. My blog today was really about, finding what the things that make you stand out. Sometimes you think that aren't great characteristics or actually some of your best assets. And those are the things that make you memorable, you guys. Those are the exact things that make you memorable. Go back. There we go. So what makes you stand out from other contestants? For me, I'll apply it to me if you really want an answer. I was very, very invested in my social cause. So when I competed for Miss Indiana USA and Miss USA, my social cause was child abuse. And this did make me stand out. A lot of people advocate for child abuse, which is a great cause because it's something that really hurts and affects our nation. But I was sexually molested and had gone through rigorous rehabilitation for this and counseling, and I had seen a lot of psychiatrists. I truly knew what it felt like to be abused as a child, and it was very passionate to me. And the importance, again, we'll go over this when we do platform building, which I want to talk to you guys about next. When we talk about platform or social cause, we will go through this in detail, but it's very important to me because it is something that I've experienced and I'm very passionate about. And I know that was memorable. No, I don't want to be remembered as the girl who was sexually molested by any means. However, that did stand out to the judges that it's something that I am passionate about, and I am going to continue to advocate for, even if I don't get a title, and if after I've given a title. Here we are, you guys donated to Vassar Children's Home to be here, and I cannot thank you enough. I present that check next week. Very excited. So again, let me know if you need help with this one. It's a very hard thing to look at and talk about, but you have to sell yourself. And what are you doing right now to promote your platform? This is also going to help you set up your paperwork. So your platform or social cause. And some organizations, like the Miss America organization, the platform is one of the biggest components of competition. It's very important to this organization because it's a nonprofit and we have national platforms. Now, other organizations, they don't leave you as much space or detail to talk about it, but if it's passionate to you, I really want you to talk about it in your interview and bring it up because it's a great thing to show that you're actually going to do something with your title. You're going to use your crown for good. So I want you to think about what your platform or your social issue is and what are you doing right now? And I can tell you what everybody else is doing. Everybody else has a social media account, they have Instagram, and they want to talk to schools. And they're going to make flyers. So those are great things to do. But if you are truly trying to make it to the national stage, you got to think beyond that. You've got to think beyond that. And if you have a platform or social issue, you have done none of the above. This is like, I'm lighting that fire underneath you because you got to do something with it at some point in time. And if you don't have a platform or social issue, we're going to do that next. Not tonight. Well, that'll be our next video. So I'm going to open up the chat to see if we have any questions. Did everybody saw the slide just fine? I think we went over it. Okay, I will stop screen share. Wow, lots of questions. Sorry, guys. Kyla, how do you make everything connect if your activities, career, hobbies, etc. don't really connect or not seem to? This could be something you need to help me with. Okay. No, this is a great question because when you start to list out all of those things, it's like, how do I make them connect? Where you make them connect in this case is you make them connect when you talk about them. So yes, we can chat about this personally so we can look at your resume, but how you want to make them connect is when you talk about them. And if your resume is different from top to bottom, mine was one of them. I just want to be honest, mine was one of them. You have to be, the great thing is you're showing you are very well-rounded, that you have a lot of different qualities that are going to make you a great title holder. And that's what you emphasize. And then when they ask you about certain things, if they ask you about a social cause and how you relate it to, oh gosh, this is hard. You could always reference back to a certain thing in your paperwork, even though they're asking you about a different part. That's how I'm saying that. Okay. Courtney was helping, I believe. Yes. I don't know. Kelly, did you see Courtney's response to that? Kimberly, I have questions about connecting my platform and promoting it. What tips do you have? We'll get into this in detail, but we'll go over it now so you can start thinking about your paperwork. Connecting with your platform and promoting it. Now, if you are the type of person, and it's okay if you are, that put a bunch of things that you liked in a bowl and pulled it and said, this is going to be my platform, it's very hard to connect with that. And I understand that. Your platform has to be something that you are passionate about. And it doesn't mean that you have, firsthand experience or even secondhand experience. It could be something that's very important to you, and where you have to figure out, I do this with my fitness, I can't really know this, you're my fitness stuff. You have to figure out your why. And why did you pick this platform? Why are you doing a pageant? Why? It's what drives you. And that's what's going to empower you to to keep going when you feel like you can't go anymore. Same thing with your platform. So why did you pick it? Why is it passionate to you? Or why is it going to be passionate to you? And you have to figure out why is there a need for it? Very, very important. Why is there a need for that platform? And once you start doing that, you'll be able to insert it into your life. And then perhaps you can start making some action items there. Yeah, okay. Helping humane societies. You love animals, and it's okay if you're not wanting to be a vet. I didn't mean to do that, but if you're not wanting to be a vet and you really, you could be like me and love dogs, but I do nothing with dogs in my career. I mean, I'm a dog lover, just love dogs. They can be passionate to you. Have you had an animal in the past? Have you seen experiences? Is one of your favorite shows Vet Cops or Cops, or what show is that? It's when they rescue, they go through canine rescue and how passionate it is. I think, as long as you show that you're passionate and there is a need for that platform, you will connect with them and you will be able to make an action plan from then on out. Ooh, you're caught between two, both very dear to you. How do you decide? This was huge for me as well. I transitioned from having 4-H as my platform to child abuse. Now, obvious was child abuse now that I've gone this far with it, but it was very hard to decide between the two, being caught between two that you like. You have to kind of put your national title holder on. So if you are going to be Miss America or Miss USA or Miss United States, what do you see yourself taking to the national stage? For me, I loved 4-H, and I loved that not a lot of America knew about 4-H. But the unfortunate thing was it was very hard to promote because a lot of counties and a lot of states didn't have strong 4-H, and it was so narrowed in on a certain demographic, it was hard for me to take it to the national stage. So I ended up picking a different national platform that I knew that I could reach a larger audience and could connect with more people promoting that one. So depending on which you are deciding upon, think about the next level. What can you take to the national stage? So that's my answer for that. If you're passionate about two of them and you're not leaning, think about it from a business standpoint. Which can you capitalize on more if you had a larger audience? And you will if you are crowned and go to the next phase of competition. Does anybody else have any questions? You can unmute yourself if you feel comfortable enough to talk, if that's easier. Or you can just simply type. I will just give it a second. while you guys are doing that, I'll be a pet party planner. That's funny. If you live on the right coast, you could really do something with that. So here are some things that I am working on now for us for the next week and a half. We'll probably go longer than next week, you guys. But I want to be able to pack as much into this 2 weeks so you guys are ready for your next pageants. So today we talked about resume, job and learning your story. We're going to go over platform. I didn't write that down. We're going to have one huge session on platforms, just like we did this. We're also going to go through interviewing. We have guest speakers for interviewing, and I'm hoping Katie will give us the thumbs up, Miss Katie Stam, for that one. Headshots, the importance of headshots and how to prep for headshots. And we will do a live thing on that as well. A friend of mine, Gretchen Reese, was Miss Indiana USA in 2015, and she got Miss Photogenic Award at Miss USA, and she is just drop dead gorgeous inside and out. One of the funniest people I know. I love her to death. And actually, she just texted me, and hold on, she might tell me when she would like to talk. She said, let me check my master calendar and I'll text you. Okay, so she's going to let us know when she can talk. And it'll be recorded for those of you who can't go live. Connecting on stage. This is huge. And a lot of you, when I had you guys do your resume or do that application, I'm not kidding you, almost every one of you feel like you are your stage presentation in evening gown and swimsuit and even on-stage question. You feel that it's not one of your strong points. And I'm going to talk about it because I'm very passionate about this. So we'll be doing a live interview about that. Hi, Kitty. And then pre-recorded videos. So this is something that I'm like doing news reporter on. I have some specialists that are going to be doing tips for us, and we're going to do, it's not going to be live like this. So what we're going to do, I have one on spray tans, everything you need to know and to get ready for your next pageant if you need a spray tan. Excuse me as I burp. Skincare, huge, you guys. I have a skincare sponsor and they are phenomenal, and I want to talk about the importance and how to maintain a healthy skin, how to get a healthy regimen, because it's very important. It's like just devastating when you have a breakout 2 days before the pageant. So I want to help you there. We'll be going over hair. I just locked that down. That'll probably be next weekend. We're going to go through, and this is huge because hair, of all the things that stress me out at a pageant, it's my hair. I don't know why. It sounds pathetic, but it drives me. This is what I look like all the time, you guys. This is what I look like. Hair is something that I cannot stand to do so much that I usually, if I can, I will try to hire someone to do my hair. But it is, when you're at events and you are at locals, you can't hire people to do your hair. So this is a very important one. We will be going through tips. That'll be pre-recorded, so you'll just catch that and be able to see it. And then walking. Who here needs help like walking? Yes. Almost everybody does. Everybody needs a refresher. I am going to break it down because it is, again, one of my most passionate things. Walking on stage and on-stage presence is my favorite thing to teach. And then I talked to Ashley of Ashley Renee's, and she's going to talk wardrobe with us of every pageant. The woman knows the designers by first name, texts them, Sherry Hill, Tony Bowles, Mac Dougal. She is like the queen of pageant wardrobe. She's going to go everything down from interview to what you show up in and helping you find a gown that fits your body style. So that'll be pre-recorded. I'm missing something. What aren't we going over? Oh, talent. I asked you about talent because I wanted to make sure I was getting the right people. If you have a talent, I know you have talent. If you have a talent and have not done that, let me know in the Facebook group. That way I have it at the same spot what your talent is. Very important because I don't want to get a baton twirler if nobody twirls batons. However, Mary Beth is a very good dancer, so I might have her come anyways. So I want a vocalist to give some tips there. We'll probably do a quick live chat. You can only talk about singing so long. So I'll be posting as soon as I lock those in so that you guys can capitalize on that and talk to a real vocal coach or a real dance coach who have experience in the pageant world. So talent. Anything else you guys want to cover that I didn't explain?
I said I would unmute myself when we pause. Hi, I am Courtney. I'm Miss Indiana United States 2017. I'm so excited to take on this title. I'm like already still spazzing. I just got my sash today. But this is for Kyla. You said that you're caught between two. I actually started pageantry, wanting to be a self-defense artist, and I started with sexual assault prevention because it's something that's very near and dear to my heart. So I took that step, became certified through Defend University and Steve Cardian, and that was really my first step. Then I started looking more inside myself. Reflection is such a big part in everything. And why did I want to go into sexual assault prevention? Why did I want that so bad? And it was because I was afraid that my abuser was going to kill me. Mm-hmm. So I kept looking inside myself, and then I decided, what else am I interested in doing? I just started modeling. So your platform is always going to be evolving. And in the fall, we put on our first ever Dress Against Dating Abuse. So what is Dress Against Dating Abuse? That's all about making yourself feel good and dressing up, having fun, self-esteem runway. You get to walk the runway, have a photo shoot. So not only do I get to make people feel good, but I get to raise awareness for what I was truly feeling inside. How you said, it started with child abuse and then you kind of evolved it and everything. So it started with sexual assault and it evolved into what I'm doing now. So just a lot of reflection will really help you. That's all.
Very important to know that your platform will evolve, and it may end up taking a different route when you get started in it. You may have a broad platform and then actually start narrowing in on something that you find is more passionate about the topic. That's okay. Just because you have, especially girls competing in local still, just because you did this at one local doesn't mean you can't change it for the next. You have different set of judges, different audience, different day. So don't feel like you are like signing your life away when you decide on a platform or a social cause, because you can change it. You can promote as many things as you want. It just happens to be what one you put on your bio or resume for that day. Awesome. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you so much. Anything else you guys want to make sure I cover? Because I want to make sure I get all the proper confirmations from specialists. If you guys really are wanting to go over things, go for it. You can unmute yourself. I don't know how. Bottom screen.
I was reading what Kimberly just said about her swimsuit and how it's really hard for her because she has a side tattoo and having a swimsuit that covers that up. So I just wanted to say I have 4 tattoos. Personally, I have leopard spots on my hip. I have a cancer ribbon on my back. I have like a faith, hope, love symbol right here. And I'm in the process of getting an elephant too. And I mean, in my experience on stage, the judges don't really care. I mean, they might care, like they might notice, but they really don't seem to mind. And like in my MAO paperwork, I've even put in my interesting facts about me, I have 4 tattoos. And people ask me, like, what are your tattoos? What do they stand for? What are they? But I mean, as far as like worrying about having to cover it up, don't. Like, I don't see the point in covering it up. If you saw, what was it, Miss America or something a couple years ago, Colorado had that big.
Was it? Yeah.
Or maybe, I don't remember, but she was the one who was a Marine or something, and she had the big quote that went all the way down like her rib cage. Just show it. Like, just leave it out. I'm doing USA in October, and I'm not covering up anything.
You don't need to. It's completely up to your discretion. If you feel like it is going to be a distraction, we'll go over this when we talk about swimsuit walk, but 100% swimsuit is won just by your confidence. And they say, the little pageant saying is it's won from the neck up, but it truly is, because again, it talks about confidence and how good you feel in your own skin. It's more about how you present yourself than your actual body. 100%. I promise you, it is really more so about how you make the judges feel than the actual physical shape of your body. Yes, you're going to have a judge that is in the health and fitness industry that may judge differently than the person who is a singer. I mean, everybody has it's truly just a bunch of people's opinions, quite honestly. If you love them and have felt that you wanted them on your skin forever, own them. I have 3 tattoos and I won't be covering up any of them for my pageant in next month. I'm not. They're talking points. One of my things, my feather, I love it. I talk about it all the time. It's literally, I wanted it on my wrist so I saw it every day because that's part of my story. I will talk about it in an interview. The Feather Project is something I'm working on. It's very important to me. So I agree, don't cover it up. However, something to take into consideration just in a general, I feel like I should say this. When you are getting ready for a pageant, especially a national or a state pageant, they will announce the judges ahead of time. They will say, here are your judges. If you happen to see that your judges are all over the age of 75 years old and probably going to be conservative, take that into consideration when you are picking your wardrobe. Because some things that are more fashion forward, they may not understand, or something that may be revealing to them and it's not to anybody else. So it's very important to also take into consideration what your judges are. You never want to put a bad taste in someone's mouth simply by what you're wearing. So I'm trying to play devil's advocate. I will not be covering up I don't know who my judges are. I will not be covering up my tattoos because I chose them for a very specific reason. I'd be happy to tell about all of them. Really, I would be happy to. And they mean a lot to me. So I don't think you need to cover up your tattoos. Indiana, USA, I would not, honestly. First of all, have you been to Indiana, USA yet? Kimberly, are you competing for Indiana, USA, right?
I'm starting out for Miss South Bend.
Oh, you're fine.
And then working up. When I first tried years ago, they told me I had to cover it up. So that's why I was like questioning.
Depends on the director too.
I would told that too for USA to cover it up.
Mm-hmm.
South Bend won't make you cover it up. You'll be just fine. I wouldn't be
Okay.
concerned about it. Your directors may have a different opinion about that.
Mm-hmm.
I love Ellie, and I think you'll be fine. I really think South Bend will be fine. They're young. They're my age. They understand. However, if your directors happen to know who the judges are and they say, I'm strongly suggesting that we cover some of them up or choose a different, wardrobe for certain things, listen to them. Always they know what they're doing. They're there for a reason, but I would not be worried about it. Don't worry about it at all. Great question. Okay. What about fitness and eating healthy? Oh, perfect. Yes. Oh, I didn't write that down. I have a bunch of personal trainer friends. I am not a personal trainer. I am a Beachbody coach. Love Beachbody. I love health and fitness, but I thought it would be more beneficial for you guys to actually talk to a trainer who knows the science behind metabolisms, knows the best workouts, just simple workout moves to get you maybe to where you want to be. I'm waiting for a response there. I have 2 in my back pocket that we'll talk to, and they may help you. And if I can't, I will do all the research and make sure I get you the proper information. I'll tell you what I'm doing to get ready for pageants, but I want to make sure that we do cover that. That will be covered. Thank you. I'm going to put that down, and I want it to be a live video. That way we can do a kind of like a question and answer like that. So diet and nutrition. Okay. Anybody else? Oh, vocalist. Lots of vocalists and lots of dancers. 1 violinist. I love it. Okay. Well, we've been on for an hour. Thank you guys for taking the time to be here. Feel free to message me with any other questions. I am exhausted, so I probably will be going to bed in the next half hour. I don't know if you saw my husband go upstairs. I heard him turn the TV off. I've been working 12 hours a day. And this never happens. Of course, we start this and then my job goes crazy. It's very unpredictable. So I'm excited. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. But actually, the Facebook group is closed, you guys, and we're going to be together for a while, for a couple weeks here. So if you have a question that you think other people might have, go ahead and post it in the page, because I think it would be beneficial to see the different answers. And that's how we grow. That's why we kind of created this community. I understand, again, some people may be competing against each other. So if you would like to privately message me, feel free anyway. If I don't answer right away, I promise I will. But you guys, I am honored to help you guys, and I'm just thankful you're here. So thank you so much. And I'm opening it to any other last questions. I think out of the 5, 6 of us, I think we're good. Okay, I'll post this, so if you need to reference back to it. And you guys have a great night. Tomorrow. It's Friday. I'm not sure does anybody have a certain time that you could talk Friday. I know a lot of you have class and whatnot, so I don't know if earlier in the night will work better. 7 p.m. Okay. I will lock that down. 4 to 5. Record it, no problem, Courtney. I kind of just want to jump right into platforms since we just talked about this, and it's something that I can do. We don't have to schedule someone, so maybe we may jump right into platform. So we will we'll record that, and even if it's just me talking, we'll go from there, and we can do things later. So wonderful. Thank you guys. Have a great night. I love you all.